So we got to talk about that nutless wonder called Bernie Sanders, because he was recently on Pod Save America. And let me clear here, okay? When it comes down to corporate media, the Democratic establishment, all these vote blue no matter who people, especially those that are triggered by Donald Trump, even Bernie, I'm going to add him in here, AOC, secretly, privately, in their most quiet of moments, they're probably hoping that Trump gets elected into office again. Trump was the biggest job producer in the vote blue no matter who industrial complex, in the Democrat industrial complex, in the media industrial complex. He was able to give people so much relevancy because all what they could do is talk about him. And of course, during that lapse when he wasn't president, a lot of those people, a lot of these internet magazine sources, places that had Trump derangement syndrome, excuse me, lost money because everything evaporated, everything went belly up. And so the cuck Sanders decides to go on Pod Save America. And I have not one but three clips just to pull up here. But I think what I find here the most insulting one of them all, and I will pull this up for all of you to watch, when they ask what Bernie Sanders would do if he was, get this, president of these United States in North America on the Israel-Palestine war, or as we call it, the genocide in Gaza. What he would do if he was the president of the United States. Folks, before I play this video, I want to have your thoughts, your comments. I want to hear your perspective. Type 1 for Kit. If Bernie was president, he would have stopped this at day one. He would have been sincere. He would have been consistent. And it's men like you, awful men like you, that ruined the progressive movement. Type 2, now he would have been a nutless cuck wonder like the Democratic establishment is, just like how the Republican establishment is, and he wouldn't have done nothing. Or type 3, Jesus Christ, Kid, Bernie Sanders president, don't you know he doesn't have the balls to be that? I wonder how many threes we'll get in the chat. I wonder. So let's go ahead and play this video. Shout out to Case Study QB. Shout out to Case Study QB. Let's go and play this video for all of you to enjoy. What if Bernie was president of, get this, these United States?
What, in your view, would it look like for the president to match his words with actions? And do you think that the president himself would be able to stop, congressional funding of further aid to Israel?
I think the answer is pretty simple. Mr. Netanyahu, I'm here to inform you that if the border is not open tomorrow, if thousands of trucks do not get in to start feeding starving people, all military aid will cease. Have a nice day.
Fuck you, Bernie. Okay. Let's rewind that again.
Yes. Further aid to Israel.
I think the answer is pretty simple. Mr. Netanyahu, I'm here to inform you that if the border is not open tomorrow, if thousands of trucks do not get in to start feeding starving people, all military aid will cease. Have a nice day.
Okay.
How's that?
No, I think that was pretty good. I'd like to hear that myself.
Too bad that won't exist. You want to know what has a better chance of existing in this world? And I'm going to steal this from something. I think Chasing Amy. Yeah, there we go. Directed by Kevin Smith. Chasing Amy, right? There's that scene where the guy was saying, "Hey, things that don't exist. Bigfoot, the woman who likes to have relations with women but likes to date men, the Tooth Fairy, and Santa Claus." Right? Those four things that I just mentioned there have a better chance of existing than what Bernie Sanders ever said, because AIPAC owns our politicians. For Christ's sakes, okay? For Christ's sakes, he's just saying something that people want to hear. I regret any kind word I ever said about Bernie. But hold on, folks, it gets better. Here, he's going to talk about his good friend Joe. Bernie Sanders talks about President Biden's neglect to make meaningful action against Benjamin Netanyahu. One day, the president is angry at Netanyahu. The next day, he's very angry. And the next day, he's very, very angry. So what? Well, gee, Bernie, you said he was your good friend, your buddy, your pal, your best friend in the whole wide world. Jimmy, I know you're in Europe, wherever you're at. Just know this, Bernie Sanders continues to be a disappointment. Always has been. always will be.
In a call today, President Biden told Netanyahu that, quote, the strikes on aid workers in the humanitarian situation are unacceptable. He underscored that an immediate ceasefire is essential and said that, quote, U.S. policy with respect to Gaza will be determined by our assessment of Israel's immediate action to address civilian harm, humanitarian suffering, and the safety of aid workers. How do you take that statement? Do you take that to mean that
Bernie, just say the word. Say the word genocide, okay? Say the word that your good friend Joe, who took a lot of corporate PAC money from AIPAC and other pro-Israeli groups, is a cuck, just like how you are a cuck to the Democratic Party. The only difference is a lot of these neoliberal hack fraud Democrats like Nancy, Chucky Boy Schumer, Biden, all of them collected that nice AIPAC check. See, Democrats, liberals, this is why nothing gets done, why Biden hasn't lifted a finger over 6 months. I'm going to show you just how sociopathic some of these people in Israel are. Okay? That's for the fourth story. So hang on, folks. It's going to get crazier. But this nutless wonder, Bernie Sanders, who took everyone for a ride, who built a political movement and then threw it away not once but twice. And yet now he's going to tell y'all that we got to support Joe Biden, his good friend. But let's hear how he's going to be critical of his good friend, Joe Biden. Don't worry, Bernie's got a podcast. He's going to be talking about his fantastic book, It's Okay to Be Angry About Capitalism. And then later on the episodes, he's going to tell you why we got to support Biden to defeat Trump.
that he might be finally ready to budge on conditioning
We'll
aid?
see.
Or?
As you know, there have been a lot of statements.
Yes.
I mean, one day I'm angry. The president is angry at Netanyahu. The next day he's very angry.
Right.
And the next day he's very, very angry. So what?
And you get angry, and you get very angry, and then you get very, very angry at your good friend Joe, but you still end up slobbering his old man sack, right? There you go.
At the same time, there is support for more military aid. We're talking about $10 billion in a supplemental bill that I voted against for that reason. I'm not going to give Netanyahu another $10 billion in military aid to continue to kill women and children in Gaza. Now, I hope, the president is not stupid. And I know the president, and he is at his heart a very decent human being. I know he's hurting from what's going on. Now, why they have continued this policy, if you ask me.
He's a decent human being, folks, Joe Biden. Hang on. Let's talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who is against busing and desegregation. Joe Biden, who didn't want his white kids to be with black kids. Joe Biden, who helped not only write, but promote and still defend the crime bill that was signed by good old horn dog himself, Bill Clinton, right? Remember that? Same Joe Biden who said he'd gladly prostitute himself to corporations. Same Joe Biden who worked with Republican segregationists, gave a eulogy to Strom Thurmond. Same Joe Biden who was all in favor for the war in Iraq. Same Joe Biden who helped architect student debt for the nightmare that it is today. Yes, he's a great human being, Bernie. And you are a nutless wonder that took everyone for a ride. If anyone ever said a kind word about you, may they take it back and recant it forever. You are the most disappointing politician. Dare I say it? Controversial statement in a 3, 2, and an uno. Donald Trump has been more authentic than you, Bernie. Because at least at the end of the day, he's up front with his BS. We know where to stand. But you, Bernie, letting the DNC just go right up your wazoo and just screw over your supporters and volunteers. What a waste.
That question, I cannot give you an answer. I have some speculation. I have some guesses, but I won't even say it publicly. I don't know why. But I would hope that the president understands that from a moral perspective and from a political perspective, because that young Palestinian in Michigan is not the only person. The polls are very clear. A majority of the American people, I think the last poll I saw was like 52%, think the United States should stop military aid to Israel. And among Democrats and among young people, the numbers are much higher. So the president is now engaged in a very, very difficult campaign. So from a moral perspective and from a political perspective, I hope very much that what he's saying today really does indicate a change of policy. But we will know. You cannot continue to talk about your worries about humanitarian situation in Gaza and then give Netanyahu another $10 billion or more bombs. You cannot do that. That is hypocritical.
Hypocritical. much like you and your whole career. Now, hold on. It gets better. Bernie Sanders then says, I hope all of you are sitting down for this one, this final video here. What Israel is now doing is a clear violation of American law. Does that mean it's a genocide, Bernie? Can you finally say it? Can you say it? Hello? Hello? I also want to give a shout out to Corporate Commander. Yeah, that's the real kicker here. Donald Trump's word is worth more than Bernie's. Yeah, it is. And Charlie Brown politics. Charlie Brown. Donald's hair is more authentic. I'm not going to argue with my audience. I'm not going to argue with any of you all at all. And not about that. Not about that. Hang on, but it gets better.
What would you say to a young Arab American in Michigan?
What would you say to a young Arab American in Michigan? To the uncommitted voters, remember, the Democrats told you how they really feel. For 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, the horrific crisis is happening all over Gaza. People are dying. People are dying. And they knew, the Biden administration knew that civilian targets were being hit. And this, if you really think voting Democrat is going to change things, you're horribly mistaken. Uncommitted voters, be consistent. They told you how they feel, okay? When somebody slaps you in the mouth, when someone disrespects you, when someone spits in your face, you don't want to go up there and hug them and be your friend. They're your enemy. Remember that.
Who says, I hate Trump. I don't want him to win. I just don't know if I can bring myself to vote for someone.
Voting shaming now. They're going to be this. See, there's going to be the bullying and then there's going to be the polite talking. Let's rewind that again and I'll stop pausing.
What would you say to a young Arab American in Michigan who says, I hate Trump. I don't want him to win. I just don't know if I can bring myself to vote for someone who keeps sending bombs to this extreme right-wing government that will not stop killing and starving people in Gaza. Maybe I should vote third party. You're an independent. You caucus with the Democrats, but you've been an independent your whole life. What do you say to that?
I am the longest serving independent, I think, in the history of the United States Congress. I have supported third-party candidates. And there's a time and a place. You know, if you're running for Congress and you're running against some right-wing Republican and a corporate Democrat, give me a ring, and I may well support you. I am not in the Democratic Party because I think the Democratic Party is much too corporately and big money dominated.
Say again, you cuck. After what they did to you and your supporters in 2016 and 2020, yet you still go to bat for them and you still defend your good friend Joe? Make up your mind, old dog.
You know, I've been saying that for a few years. And I say to that young Palestinian, I understand exactly where you're coming from. What is going on in Gaza is unspeakable. It makes me literally sick to be thinking about what's going on. The United States has for years given a huge amount of money, military aid to Israel. And right now, as you've just indicated, you have not only a right-wing Netanyahu government, it's even worse than that. You got some religious fundamentalists who think that God is talking to them. And they have, you know, God is telling them they have a right to do terrible things to the Palestinians in Gaza, take over that land. That's what some of these people actually think. So it's a horrible, horrible situation. And I would say to that person, some of us, and I want you to hear this, are working day and night.
Why are you laughing? He said some of us are working. The Senate and the House of Representatives? Hey, let's all laugh together. The Senate, the U.S. Senate, and the U.S. House of Representatives working together, working all night. Them working? Work? How does a senator know how to work? They don't know how to work. All they knew how to do is pick up the phone, begging for money, or collect that nice check. Jesus, we're working? Show me you working. Show me that.
I'll be on the phone as soon as I get off of this podcast on an issue related to this. Working day and night to try to turn the Biden administration around. What Israel is doing now is in clear violation of American law.
How about international law, too? So do you want to say the word? Do you want to say the G word?
The law is quite clear that when American humanitarian aid is blocked by a country.
Hold on, salty digital dive. They working all right. They're working day and night on their stock portfolios. And that's what your U.S. Senator and U.S. House Representative is working on, folks. If that offends you, hey, sometimes you got to hear the truth, okay? Democrats and Republicans in Washington, D.C. only care about that money, not you, the voter. Okay, wake up. Diehard Democrat voters, diehard Republican voters. Don't worry. Google gobble. We will convert you. Google gobble. You'll be one of us.
Is certainly the case right now. You got hundreds of thousands of children facing starvation. Malnutrition is growing, and that is an issue that kids will never recover from in their lives. When you have that circumstance and you got hundreds, if not thousands, of trucks at the border ready to get through, and Israel is blocking that is a not only, to me, a war crime, but that is a clear violation of American law. And we're working to do everything we can to change the Biden policy. My own view has been for months, not another nickel. The leverage we have. What is the leverage we have? The leverage we have is money, is military aid. So the idea that we're sending bombs,
Bernie, you can't be this old and senile, or either that you must really think everybody listening to this podcast is stupid. So if you're a listener to Pod Save America, know this: Bernie Sanders doesn't respect you. Bernie, you should know how the Senate operates, right? So when they get that lobby money, you know that the U.S. senators, Democrat and Republican, U.S. House representatives, Democrat and Republican, are going to make sure Israel gets that aid money because AIPAC owns a lot of our politicians. The key word, owns. All right. Now, right now, Israel, during these last 6 months, kind of overplayed their hand. That's right. The whole world is seeing it's like, whoa, what's going on? So a lot of these politicians, they got to do the word salad like, yeah, it's a little bad here. It's a little bad here. We got to have a committee, to form a committee to vote on a resolution, to do a committee to discuss a bill that will be put on the floor for a committee to vote on so that it could go into the chamber so the committee could vote on it. So yeah. You know how the system works. They're going to still make sure that Israel gets that cool money. What are you talking about? Bernie, Grandpa Simpson makes more sense when he's talking about his crazy stories than you are right now. And he's a fictional character. But hey, people thought you were a leader, and that was a good fictional lie that you told the people.
The idea that we're sending money to Netanyahu is, to me, reprehensible. So I say to that young person, your gut feeling is right. And I'd have Palestinian friends who are worried every day.
Oh, fuck you. It's like that person who says, yeah, some of my best friends are black. Some of my best friends are Latino. Some of my best friends are in the LGBTQ community. Some of my best friends are Palestinian. Really? What do I think about you now, Bernie?
To Netanyahu is, to me, reprehensible. So I say to that young person, your gut feeling is right. And I'd have Palestinian friends who are worried every day what's going to happen if their family members have not already been killed. It is horrible. But all that I ask is let's not make a horrible situation even worse. Trump will be worse on that issue.
It all comes down to Trump. Trump! Look out for Trump! Woogie, boogie, boogie! Jesus Christ, they're turning him into a Scooby-Doo villain. I swear, I think my imagery of Trump on the Hill with an axe, slowly walking to a bunch of liberals' houses as they're watching Rachel Maddow foam from the mouth. It's a lightning storm. Trump knocks on the door, kicks it down, starts chasing them like a Scooby-Doo kind of episode. All these liberals panicking. Trump is worse on the issue. Okay. All right, fine. But I do know this. If this was happening under Trump, man, would there be a shit ton of protests.
Let alone every other issue. So it's a tough moment. But that is what I think.
Here's what I think. I think that Bernie Sanders once again proves to all of us that he is a nutless wonder, that he is a cuck, that he is a lackluster piece of shit. And he is somebody that we cannot trust. He is somebody who's going to be sheepdogging a lot of voters and suckers into the Democratic Party. And for those who voted uncommitted, what you just saw there was a professional con man. Someone who will be your shepherd into the darkness. That's who Bernie Sanders is. He always has been and always will be a disappointment, because Bernie was never your fighter. He was never your champion. And unfortunately, he will never stand up to his good friend Joe, because that AIPAC money's coming into Washington, D.C., and the military aid will keep on flowing. Bassem Youssef is correct. Israel will face no consequences whatsoever.